Right guys, welcome down to another golf lesson, which I'm super excited about. That now makes it 2 golf lessons in just over a decade, which is pretty good going. And I'm here of course with Dan Whittaker, who has kindly agreed to guide me through the changes within my swing. And if you've not watched the first video, please, I'll leave that in the description below, go check it out, because there's been quite big progress made in between these 2 lessons, and there's a lot of ground which has been covered. Dan has already got me swinging in a way which I didn't think I would be able to, so it's very exciting for me and hopefully interesting for you. Fingers crossed.
Definitely.
Hopefully so. So let's have a little bit of a recap first of all from where we were, what we covered a little bit in that first one, and then what we changed within the swing now as well, because there's a lot of ground being covered here. I'm very excited about these changes.
So first lesson on the left hand side, so this obviously was the very first swing when we started off, so we could see here that highlighted that obviously the pelvis was moving a little bit towards the ball in the backswing, and there was very limited hip rotation. Okay, club obviously got a little bit across the line, and the big thing that the 3D was highlighting was the fact that this pelvis didn't turn very much there, and also the upper body was going towards the target. So they were the main bits that we focused on. So without even going into what the swing changes are to begin with, we straight away could see a huge difference in the amount of hip turn, because his pelvis was then starting to load backwards a lot more in this direction, and the weight was big time moving in towards that heel.
And then in that first lesson, it was we were very much talking about getting almost sat down into that hip, rotating that hip. It was all about getting that more rotation in the backswing, and that really did, I'm not going to say came easily after the lesson, but it was certainly something which I felt very ease with very quickly, which I didn't think I would do, but it was nice.
I mean, you can see how quickly it's changed, or how much it's changed. It's a dramatic change. So I think probably, I don't know if you'd agree with this, because you've probably demoed quite a lot over the years and you've experimented with things, you can quite quickly find a feel, and then once you get one, you can kind of run with it maybe a little bit.
Exactly. I've been preparing for this moment basically all my life without even realising it, which is nice. But it is true. I think once you spend a certain amount of time trying to explain to other people to get into certain positions and to make certain movements, then that's got to rub off.
Oh, big time.
So that was good. Very nice of you to say. Thank you.
So what we did is we made sure that we, in this next bit, was working at the elbow, trying to feel like it's almost working down a little bit, and it feels to you like it's kind of working towards your sternum in this direction, doesn't it? Okay, so this is obviously a lot more down, and we can see a huge difference in where that elbow kind of forearm is positioned here. It's the worst line ever. Okay, straight one compared to where it was right here, and obviously we're now seeing that rather than the club getting across the line, we're not actually seeing the club there.
And this in comparison to that first lesson was, I would say, that feeling to actually get the elbow a little bit more in front of my body when combined with the hip turn was much more difficult than actually getting that hip rotation. It felt very alien, and it's always the case when you give lessons, that when you're giving lessons to someone else, you can see in their mind what they think they're doing is literally nowhere near where they are. And that to me felt like I was swinging it to probably waist high, and that my elbow was in front of my left knee. Pretty much. It was that much of an exaggeration. But as you can see, it's not.
No, it looks great. I mean, and then what we've got is, previously, the club came down quite steep here, and then it dropped under a lot more, and obviously the exit point was a lot more up through the shoulder because the club didn't have as much room coming down. Because the elbow's now loaded down, what this is going to give us the ability to do is to get that elbow to work a lot more forwards in this direction. Obviously we've got the room created by the hip turn and getting the upper body back, and now getting that elbow to work with that. Now what we've got is, as we're coming down, we can see completely different delivery position through here. Okay, and then that club is starting to work around, and there's a lot less flip. Now that was probably as steep as we've had them. A couple were even a little bit lower, I think. Okay, let's just see. So this one here, there we are.
Not much more added in. And that's the whole point of these changes, by the way, as well, guys. Remember, whenever you're making swing changes, we're using the video here, 2D analysis. We've obviously got the TrackMan here in the 3D system as well. you've got to understand why you're making the changes. What's it going to give you? Because yes, that backswing looks prettier.
Yeah.
It looks more textbook, but this is all about improving delivery down into the ball.
Yeah.
So rather than getting that steep angle of attack coming down, then having to flatten the shaft at the most crucial point in the swing where you don't have time to flatten the shaft, now we're coming through with a much more neutral delivery with a lot more room, which should enable me to strike it more consistently.
Yeah.
Should be able to anyway.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
The big bit for me is obviously because we're now obviously in that better position there, it's just there's going to be less manipulation needed through this area. Right elbow's in such a better position, and then everything can kind of work around. See, the handle disappears around with the body, whereas before we could see that handle for a long time, even after that club head had disappeared. So this is way different.
And it is a very different feeling coming through that impact area, rather than having to feel like I'm doing a lot with my hands, which has always been a little bit of a problem. Now it's getting up to the top of the backswing position, which yes, feels absolutely mental, but then it's more rotational. I'm just turning a little bit more left with the body and not really thinking too much about what's happening with my hands and my arms, but then getting in a better position because of the room I've been able to create in the backswing now.
Yeah.
So it's getting into a much more consistent position, impact position, without having to think about the impact position, which is always nice. I want to think a hell of a lot more about the backswing, but yeah.
It was interesting when you know how quickly it changed that impact. And as you just said, you didn't even think about the impact. It just because it's now in a position where you can deliver it automatically, you don't have the need to try and square the club. It's just happening automatically.
Absolutely.
Now, here's one of the big ones for me was, see, first lesson we knew that upper body was really kind of working towards the target. So we could see from here how that upper body kind of started to lean.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't behind the ball very much, obviously not a lot of hip turn. Now what we can see here is that we are getting a lot more hip rotation and way more behind the ball. Look how much more loaded that right elbow is. Okay, hands are lower from this view. Okay, elbow's definitely in front. Upper body's a lot more behind the ball. Obviously that left shoulder right there, more over the inside of the right thigh. And the club's in a really, really good position. A lot more width. So the distance between hands and the head this way has got a little bit bigger maybe, but it's definitely not as steep.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can just tell how much flatter the arms are around the body, which is unusual considering the feeling that I've got is that my right hip's turning much more around, much further back. And it almost feels like my right elbow is a lot more in front of my body, but my club's a lot more laid off. It's not what's happening in reality. And again, that's the one thing that I think a lot of people do struggle with lessons. Is trying to get the head around what they feel they're doing to what they're really doing.
Yeah.
It's just so different.
I mean, we can see the difference here. The head obviously went forwards. We didn't have a lot of spine tilt impact. Now, got a lot more spine tilt here. Lower body's more forwards, more angle away from the target. It's just way different there at impacts, isn't it? And now everything's can move more around with the body. There's a little bit more flicky there. The one thing I noticed, which was big, which I was put on the screen really quick, was you see you alluded to this a little earlier on, which is this was the starting video and that's the one from today, and we can see that that club obviously went under the forearm there. We're now starting to get that club to definitely work up a lot more up in front of you. So it's going up through the forearm as opposed to behind and then having to lift and tilt to the top. So it's just so different, isn't it? And then that is then creating good impact and getting nice little tight cuts on it. Good.
Simple as that. Guys, let me know what you think. Some real positive reaction so far from these lessons. I know it's something which I've not done in such a long time, and it was overdue. Dan's been fantastic in delivering these sessions as well, and being able to basically work together to figure these changes out. And I will say again, as I said in the first lesson, sometimes just getting someone else to look at your swing with a fresh perspective, it does make a massive difference. It makes an absolutely huge difference. And the movements that you've asked me to make there, that looking at my swing, I wouldn't have thought of myself just because I couldn't see it in the same way. And it is massive. Maybe if let's say I had me come in for a lesson, I could have noticed those things.
Yeah, definitely.
But because it was my swing, I was focused on areas in it that I didn't need to be, because I had built up over time, getting not obsessed with those positions, but really focused on those positions when I didn't need to.
You have this almost idea about your own swing, and you go, I don't like that bit about it. That's the bit that I think I need to work on. So that's all you ever focus on, because it's quite difficult when you realise that that's the problem to then take yourself back out of the equation, because you know you're always used to looking at that same picture.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's been fantastic. And guys, we are going to be doing many more videos, something like that, going forward about different aspects of the game as well. Yes, long game, but pitching and other areas as well. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Please comment below. Let me know what you think. Dan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And please hop over to Dan's YouTube channel and social media. Make sure you follow and subscribe. Loads of great content up there as well. Fantastic coach based down here at Hidley, just outside Knutsford as well, if you're ever in the area and fancy a lesson using the 3D and all the rest of it. Right guys, thanks for watching. Thanks very much, Dan, and we'll see you next time. Easy as that, eh?
Easy as that.
Simple.
Good.